Hi everyone, and welcome back to In Love, my journey, and this is chapter 4. So before I get started, I just wanted to again just say thank you to all of you who have supported me thus far, and just for your ongoing love, your support, your emails, your comments, just reaching out to me, and I just wanted to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your ongoing love and support, and I hope that I am giving it back to you as well. So thank you. So chapter 4. Yeah, that was a weird one. So I left off with the fact that I made a decision to get with the brother-in-law. So I have to say, before I get into that, I don't think I really went over the level of spiritually what was happening to me from really 2012, because 2014 was when I got with the brother-in-law, but I was waking up, as you know, I did mention that, and I've said before that I had dreams since I was I could remember since I was 5 years old, dreams that were there, never left me, but I would forget about. And throughout my awakening process, what was happening was where I was starting to connect to myself and to understand and be aware of who I was, and getting in connection with my higher self, and connecting with source. I now had full faith and trust in every process that I was taking, but when it came to twin, the dreams were so vivid. I mean, I was dreaming of twin all the time. You know, I had a lot of information given to me through my dreams. I even knew when he was breaking up with the girlfriend. I knew it was all happening. I knew stages he was at. And of course, you know, I allowed the fear, the outside influences and the fear to take over, because when I came back in 2014, he was not your womanizer. He wasn't your the guy that everyone kept telling me he was and insisting he was. But twins know each other. We're twins. I knew his soul. I knew his heart. You know, he didn't need to sell himself to me. I already knew who he was in here. What he did externally, I don't care. It wasn't the external him that I fell in love with, that you are in love with. It's the true self, and I ignored that. I ignored my inner knowing. I ignored my truth, and I made the decision to cut the cord. Didn't know at this time that that is actually impossible, but at the time it seemed like a good idea, because I still couldn't face my feelings. I still couldn't be true to myself. So even though I was awakening, I still wasn't being true to who I am. And I made the decision. So, you know, got with the brother-in-law. It was a lovely relationship, don't get me wrong. Very nice guy. Obviously not ever going to be what you have with twin, because no one will ever be able to be that. It will never be the same connection with anyone else for me, but you know, it just wasn't. It never will be. You know, it was what it was. It was just a very nice summer fling, I suppose. It was 3 months long. Wasn't like he was the love of my life, but what happened was I was told that the brother-in-law phoned twin and wanted to tell him that we were together, out of respect, really, which I was all for, because I don't like doing secrets and anything like that. It doesn't sit right with me. And we were only really dating for about a week at this time. Like, it wasn't like a long-term thing. And so he thought the best thing to do would be to phone the twin and let him know that we were now seeing each other. Now, as far as I knew, no one knew about Twin and I apart from a few friends. I'd met Twin's mum and dad briefly, I think twice, at his house for a quick cup of tea with another friend of ours who I was living with. But as far as I knew, I was just the flatmate and his mate. That was it. I wasn't told any more than that. So, you know, when the brother-in-law said about phoning Twin, I thought it was because I had mentioned about Twin to him because I didn't want him to find out and it'd be weird. So I was very upfront with the fact that I had some sort of relation with Twin, but we never really were together. So, you know, so he did out of respect. And on that phone call, Twin said, great, good for you. You know, Ant's a lovely girl. You have my blessing. You know, that was it. That was it. So I was a bit, okay. He's acted really, really well. And I was very proud of him. Because I just thought, well, good on you, babe. You know, because I did think it could go the other way, but it didn't. He was very grown up and very cool. And I just thought, well, that's good then. And it was a bit of a relief that he did that. But something didn't sit right with me still. And it's very weird because it's not that I wanted it to not sit right. I did want it to sit right because it made my life easier. But something wasn't sitting right with me. But he was fine. So I was like, okay, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. It's like, whew, okay, everything's fine. So I lived with best friend, you know. Best friend was really cool. He let brother-in-law come round and hang out, and everything was fine. But one time, brother-in-law and I were out, and Twin came round the flat with best friend. Now, my mum was over at this point, and my mum decided to leave us out and go back to the flat just to have a bit of time alone. And she said she was sitting on the sofa, and Twin walked in with the best friend and another friend, and he went straight over and said, oh, hi, do you remember me? I saw you once before in the UK. Pardon me. And my mum was like, yes, I remember you. But, you know, she said she was playing it really cool, didn't want to give anything away. And she said that for a guy who was really okay with you and brother-in-law, she said he seemed like he was in a mad depression. So I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, he went to the window and was just staring out of the window. And he wasn't participating in any conversation that I was having with the guys. And she said, he turned around and he said, so where's Anth? In the bedroom with my brother-in-law, I suppose. And my mum said, no, she's actually out. She's not in. And that was that. But she said it was his whole stance, his energy. How he was staring out the window. She said that guy was in pain. And I was like, Mum, he wasn't. He said he's fine. He gave his blessing. She's like, sweetheart, she goes, you know me. I've picked you guys up years before you met. She said, I'm telling you now, don't believe everything you're being told. So I was like, okay. So I was still very confused. I don't really know what I was doing, to be honest with you. I was just trying to keep myself in a place of denial. You know, it was safer. Denial seemed so much safer than confronting this everything that I knew I needed to confront, really. So, anyway, I got dumped. Yep, he dumped me a week after we went back to the UK for a holiday. And I think I was upset about it for about an hour. And then I got over it because I was like, well, there's really no point to that relationship anyway. I knew deep down it was just wasting time, really. So Twin wasn't talking to me throughout the whole time we were together, obviously, and it wasn't until a few months later, I think it was around about the October now of 2014, and a friend of mine was asking about Twin, about his job. So I said, I'll go on LinkedIn and show you the company that he works for, because it's quite difficult to explain what he does. So I went onto LinkedIn to get up his profile, because by this point, Twin and I have stayed away in being in contact on social media because no good can come from it. So he came off Facebook anyway because I kept blocking him. So anyway, that's another story. So LinkedIn was the only social media that we were actually on at this point. And I went on and he blocked me on LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn, it's a business network site. Okay, it's very strange. So I was like, why would he block me on LinkedIn? We still laugh about it to this day, by the way. And anyway, I got home and I met up with best friend, because by this point now I'd moved out of living with best friend and I was living with some friends of mine now in a house. We got a house together, like girls' house. So anyway, I met up with the best friend and I went, any idea why Twin would have blocked me on LinkedIn? And he went, yeah. And I went, what? What's that? And he said, well, he was pretty devastated. So I went, what? What do you mean he was devastated? He gave his blessing. He said, yeah. And I said, and you even said to me he was absolutely fine. You said, Ant, no problem at all, he's absolutely fine, you know, he was all right about it. That was that. I said, so why are you now telling me months later that he was devastated? And he said, well, I didn't want to burst your bubble. I was like, okay, fine, I get that. I said, so what actually is the truth then? You know, tell me now what the truth of that situation was. So in a nutshell, when brother-in-law had phoned Twin and he said, yeah, give my blessing, he then phoned best friend straight away and went off on one. He said for about an hour, he was shouting down the phone and he was so angry and so hurt. Oh, God. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? I was a week into it. You know, it wasn't as if I fell in love with the guy. Why didn't you tell me? And he said, well, you know, it's good that you moved on because he's no good for you. And I was like, but that's not your call. That wasn't your call. You know, so I started to get really annoyed that the truth was kept from me, that Twin was devastated. But then it's not the best friend's fault. Twin should have stepped up and been truthful. Twin should have stepped up and told me his truth, but he didn't. So, you know, I contacted him and I said, are you talking to me yet? So he said, he messaged straight away. He said, why, what do you need? So I made a joke. I think I said, my door handle came off, so that needs fixing, and I need a light bulb fixed in my bedroom, and, you know, just making a joke. And he replied straight away saying, oh, so you don't need another family member of mine then? No, few. I was like, oh. So I responded and went, yay, you made a joke, woohoo. Okay, yeah, so clearly still upset about that one then. So I tried to explain myself, not very well at all, to be honest with you. And you know, I mentioned at that point that I was being warned off him by his best friend, and you know, because I have a lot of love for the best friend, as he does too, I trust him. I did trust him. And, you know, for him to say that Twin wasn't feeling anything for me, I trusted that. Instead of ignoring me and my truth, I trusted what he was telling me. So I made that very clear. And he came back and he actually said to me, he admitted that he'd said to best friend a month before I ended it and then got with the brother-in-law. I didn't end anything, I just put a stop to us sort of seeing each other. But he'd actually said to best friend that he was ready to give it a proper go with me. And I never got told that. So instead of the best friend telling me that, what the best friend did was tell me he doesn't really feel anything and don't trust him. So, you know, that was not very nice. And the niggle that I was getting from way back in 2011 around a friend starting to come to the surface, and I started to think, I was right about that niggle. So anyway, come Christmas, I was due to fly home for Christmas, and it was the day before I was due to fly home, and Twin phoned me and he was in the area and he said, I want to see you now. And I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, don't be so ridiculous, there is no way I'm coming to meet you. And he went, I want to see you now, we need to talk. So I thought, oh God, I'm going back to the UK tomorrow, so really I should go, you know, I've got some explaining to do. So I did, I got dressed and I went down to meet him, and it was like no time had passed and we were back to connection, love. Nothing had changed. Nothing had changed. So that was it, really. We kind of spoke for 9 hours that night. He shouted at me for 9 hours. When I say shout, I don't really mean he's actually shouting. I mean, it was really funny, because we've just got this thing where we can't help but laugh at all the absolute fuck ups we do to each other. You know, it just, I don't know why, but we just seem to be able to laugh rather than actually be angry. And, you know, he was just getting it off his chest and I was allowing him to get it off his chest. And I still wasn't really opening up, but I was more just trying to pacify and explain rather than really standing in my truth at this time. So what happened was, we did have a kiss and a cuddle, and we did a lot of love making that night, and it was so beautiful, and it was like blowing my mind all over again. And I realised throughout the whole relationship with the brother-in-law that I was never gonna have this with anyone, because I'd met my twin flame. So we were right back to just love. The love was just immense. It was probably even more strong than what it was before the whole brother-in-law thing happened, because throughout that time, Twin established pain. And that pain was talking to him, because it was showing him what he actually felt for me. So it was a really good thing that happened, even though it wasn't a good thing to do. It really pushed me to really understand that, yeah, you know what? I could go out and get a boyfriend if I wanted to. I could date some guys, you know, who I fancy. Yeah, absolutely. Of course I could. But all I'm doing is lying to them, because my connection, my heart is only ever going to be with Twin. That connection will never go. Can I be happy with someone else? Yeah, I was happy. I was happy with a boyfriend. I had a great time. But am I ever really going to be truly connected to him? No, of course not, because I can only ever be truly connected to my twin. So I realised that there was just no point to that. And I started to understand where I needed to work on. And that was my complete and utter vulnerability, and to stand in my truth with twin. Which goes on to the following year, and twin had said to the best friend in the January now of 2015 that I later on did not find out until the April of 2015 that twin had turned round to the best friend on a lad's holiday, snowboarding, and they were on the ski lift, and he turned around out of nowhere and said to the best friend, I want you to stop interfering between me and Anth. So best friend said, no, I won't. And he said, you're going to have to. He said, because I'm sick to death of you telling her stuff that is not true. And the best friend said, yeah, but I know what you're like with women, and I love her, and I don't want to see her getting hurt by you. And he said, look, I know what I'm like with women too. He said, I get that. He said, but from the minute I met Anth, I have loved her. And what I feel for her is true. And I have always felt that love for her. And I have never, ever lied about my feelings about her. He said, I know she is the person that I'm going to end up with. I know that. I also know that in order for that to happen, I'm going to have to make a lot of changes. And I get that. I know I've got work to do on myself. But right now, I just don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. But I'm telling you now that what I feel for Anth is real, and it always has been. So butt out. That's what he said to the best friend. And the best friend finally told me that on my birthday in the April of that year, 2015. So you can imagine for the best friend to say that to me was like, are you actually saying this to me? What, he really said that? He was like, yeah. And the best friend admitted that he was very jealous of me and twin. He was very jealous of the level of love that twin and I had for each other. And he always knew that the love between us was real. These are his words. I'm not making this up. I'm quoting him. He said to me, I wanted to keep you and twin like that. He said, I didn't want you to be together because I knew, like, I was threatened. I was jealous. He said, but I wasn't entirely sure the level of love that he had for you. And I'm very protective of you like a sister. He said, so when he opened up to me and said that to me, he said, I finally saw that it was truth. And I never knew that he felt the way he did. And I knew that I was jealous of what you had. But after he said that to me, I finally saw the truth. And he said, don't ever give up on him. He said, never give up on him. He said, I want nothing more than you two to be like this now. He says, and I'm so sorry for ever interfering before. So I was like, whoa, blimey O'Reilly. So that was on my birthday, and we briefly saw each other throughout 2015. We were seeing each other. However, twin at this point had got a girlfriend. And I knew about the girlfriend, and it was when I was with the brother-in-law. So when I saw him in a physical at Christmas, I did know that twin had the girlfriend. And I still made love with him. I was selfish. I just wanted to be with him. I just wanted to be kissing him. You know what it's like when you meet twin, the level it's too strong. The magnet, the pull was too strong. But I knew he had a girlfriend and I did wrong. So obviously when best friend told me that and he was talking to best friend on the ski lift, he was in a relationship at this time. But I think because we obviously weren't together, yes, we mucked up around Christmas, but we weren't together, but he was establishing his feelings at that time. So, you know, I just allowed the flow to happen. And I didn't see him for quite a while. And I was told that on my birthday. And we were communicating, but not really anything. Really, we were just sort of talking. Checking in, I suppose. But he came down on a few occasions and then that was it really. So I just had to sort of wait until he'd split up with the girlfriend, and he did. He split up with her. But then, you know, shit hit the fan big time in 2016. So I'm going to leave that for chapter 5 because it was pretty bad. So he, you know, had the girlfriend and then split up. So then, you know, me and him, hey, but yeah, lo and behold, chapter 5's coming up for you guys. So there you go. Gonna love you and leave you with that one, chapter 4. Oh, but guys, you know, outside influences are a message here for all of you, because you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your inner knower. You have to trust in your soul connection, okay? Because in this 3D life, we are still learning. We make decisions that are wrong and we learn. We make decisions that are right and we learn. It's life. And, you know, until you really learn what it is to properly stand in your truth, nothing can ever really happen, because you are not being your authentic self. And you've got to really face yourself with that. But outside influences will have a knack of distracting you with your process. They will have a knack of getting inside you and trying to influence you in a different direction. For whatever reasons they have of their own. It could be jealousy, it could be, I don't know, whatever. They've got their reasons. However, you've got to stick to your truth. You've got to stick to what it is you know. You've got to stick to the trust in yourself. You know, don't disbelieve what your higher self is telling you, what your soul knows. You and twin know each other inside out, implicitly. Nothing will ever be able to destroy that. It can try, it nearly did, but it won't. You know, because you are one soul. You know each other like no one else knows you. Like no one else knows twin. Only you will ever know. Only you. So, you know, this was obviously something that needed to be said to you guys for whatever reason today. So just trust yourselves and don't be swayed, or try not to be swayed. Don't do what I did. You know, I'm just saying it was a bit of a shitty move, and the level of pain, yeah, it worked out in our favour, but still, I'm still having to talk about it to this day with him. You know, it was 3 years ago. Let it go. But no, we're still talking about it. But it's fine, you know. This will just be another journey chapter for you guys anyway in the future. But anyway, love you and leave you. Mwah. Have a lovely evening, and I'll be back with the energy update on over the weekend. Okay, so thank you once again, and I'll see you soon. Right, bye.